guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Shaprotham. I teach yoga. In this video, I'm going to talk to you guys about something. But before that, whoever is watching, I want to tell you something. I'm going to tell you exactly what you're thinking about. And you know how I'm going to do that? With this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at this point over here. It's a secret technique that I'm not going to teach you guys. But looking at this point, I'm going to try to determine what it is exactly that you're thinking about. Okay? Now, you, or one of you, is thinking about what I'm going to tell you about what you're thinking about. Sorry about that. I was just fooling around with you guys. Alright guys, enough of the shenanigans, and in this video I'm going to talk to you guys about psychic abilities and if they exist or not. So, what are psychic abilities? Psychic abilities to me means the abilities of human consciousness that defies logic. Something that science cannot prove. In Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, in chapter 3 named Vibhuti Pad, Vibhuti means power and Pad means part, he talks about certain saints and he talks about certain people developing this yogic ability to have this kind of extrasensory perception. As a matter of fact, they're very close to what's called miracles. Jesus Christ performed miracles. Many saints performed miracles, and science still cannot explain why and how they could do this. Psychic abilities also includes clairvoyance and claircognition. It means the ability to hear things or see things very far away from you. And this is scientifically and physically impossible. For example, there are said to be people possessing certain clairvoyant abilities where they're able to tell what a person is doing sitting thousands of miles away, right? There are people who are able to foretell the future. And then there are people who are able to walk on water. So, what is the truth then? Do psychic abilities really exist? Well, apart from this psychic ability sham that I did, I would say that this is something totally up to you, and it lays in the eyes of the beholder, right? Because until and unless you see it for yourself, you can't really believe it. So, if you ask me whether I experience any psychic abilities or do I possess any psychic abilities, well, I guess I do. Psychic abilities has been talked about in the Yoga Sutras and also when it comes to certain secret societies as something that is not to be disclosed to other than initiates. Absolutely not to anybody else. So it is only the initiate who has the permission to understand the secrets and the technologies behind these psychic abilities. It's called siddhi in Sanskrit. So siddhi means perfection, it means accomplishment. And siddha is the person who possesses siddhis or accomplishments, okay? Siddha literally means to be accomplished, an accomplished being. It's said that when your third eye chakra activates, you're able to develop tremendous powers of visualizations, to the point that you're able to actually read world events. And what do I mean by world events? It means that, for example, in a political situation, you're able to tell exactly what's going to happen. You know, you see the world's movements as they are, without any bias. Don't ask me, but these are things that are written in some scriptures. In my experience, though, I'm not going to be biased and talk only about yoga, okay? when you practice certain occult practices that develop psychic abilities or spirituality or law of manifestation methods, you know, it is said that you're able to bring things into your experience that would ordinarily defy the law of physics. You know, for example, there are people who say that through the law of manifestation, they're able to manifest these dream houses, cars, soulmates. I absolutely don't deny these things, you know. Then there are people who are able to read your future, or who are able to say things about your relationship. I don't deny these things, absolutely. But at the same time, I won't try to go out of my way to convince you if they exist or not. Because as much as I don't deny them, yet at the same time, it is said that out of 99% of people who are said to possess these abilities, there is only that 1% who is truly genuine, and 99% of them are charlatans, okay? Pretenders who don't really possess this, but are simply out there to rob you of your money. There is also that side to people possessing psychic abilities. There's a reason why I don't read anybody's future or tell you extraordinary things about world events, because I just don't feel it's my proper place to do so. Speaking of which, in the 3rd chapter of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, it's been said that one must develop detachment towards such supernormal powers and abilities. The reason why I did this is because back in those days when yoga was practiced quite normally, when people used to practice an asana for about 2 hours, okay, where they were set to levitate, you know, quite incredulous, but you know, they're said to have done such things. Don't ask me. I can do a headstand for about an hour and it stops over there. In my experience, when you have such people doing an asana for 3 hours, talking about being able to look into the embryo of the womb of a woman in order to determine whether the child is of a male sex or female sex, it's quite incredulous. It's quite difficult to imagine or believe. But they also did come up with the concept of zero. They did come up with the whole astronomical system, which defies the laws of physics, because how could they know exactly where the planets were positioned? I'm talking about the Egyptians, because the pyramids are so specifically located that they're in absolute conjunction with certain planetary constellations up in the sky. The calculation is so precise. It's quite incredible. There are some temples in India where scientifically, scientists are saying it's not possible to have lifted such a gigantic tower. There is just no explanation. But the explanation in those places in India is that the folklore or the legends are that the siddhis performed certain rituals and incantations, okay, where they facilitated the possession of spirits, the possession of people by spirits, which gave them extraordinary strength. So these workers, who are otherwise ordinary people, were possessed by these spirits, and they were able to lift up these gigantic pillars and put them in their positions as we see them today. The Tanjore temple is one example that I can give you. In yoga itself, in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, there are said to be 8 particular siddhis or powers that a practitioner develops when they really get advanced, okay? Before I talk about these powers, I'm going to explain about how a practitioner actually goes about getting these powers. So, whether psychic abilities exist or not, this is something you'll have to dive into and find out for yourself, okay? You'll have to take that plunge. I'm fairly convinced that to some extent they do exist, but I don't believe everybody who says that they have these abilities, okay? I have not said it. I've said it to only a few people, and I've actually proven, you know, my credentials by actually doing things. For example, there have been times when I get into this very psychic zone or this very intuitive place where I'm able to just tell what a person is thinking, or I'm able to just tell who's going to win an election because I just have a feel, right? These are easily categorized under possessing psychic abilities, okay? Psychic phenomena. Back in those days, it wasn't considered supernatural. It was considered to be fairly normal, just finer expressions of the tremendous potential of human consciousness. And that's all they thought it was, okay? But nowadays, because of science, because our consciousness is so externalized, when we come across such remarkable internal phenomena, we can't accept it. We can't come to terms with it. You know, we're sort of like confounded in trying to explain them away in scientific terms. Nevertheless, psychic abilities is something that is developed through a certain practice, your yogic practice called sanyam. In Sanskrit, it's pronounced sanyam. Sanyam. It's a bit difficult to pronounce, but it's not important really. What it means is to integrate. And what I mean by integration is that, well, yoga is about integration. Everything you do in yoga and in spirituality is to yoke the individual soul to the universal consciousness, okay? And to integrate, okay, or to practice this sanyam means to bring all of these scattered energies to one point of integration where perceiver, perceived, and the instrument of perceiving all become one. And when shape, form, substance become one and perceptibility become one, you're said to be in a state of sanyam, okay? In this particular state, you're able to perceive the imperceivable. In a certain kind of Buddhist meditation, they are able to stare at an object, okay, for a very long time, to the point that they're said to be able to penetrate into the very molecular structure of the object. And in other Buddhist practices, for example, in Tibetan Buddhism, there are these young monks who sit with these wet towels, right, in this freezing cold weather. And within a few hours, what you notice is that the towels start to steam. And within no time, all the water evaporates, leaving the towel dry. And science has not been able to explain this. They just don't know. This is a psychic ability. This is a siddhi. It's a power. But don't always confuse psychic ability with a mental ability. I think that's where people make this mistake. They say, oh, psychic ability means the person is so intelligent and so mentally sharp that they can penetrate into the realm of the future, you know, even before events transpire. They're able to tell the future. No, not really. This is when I have to bring you to the meaning of the word psyche. Psyche very closely relates to the soul. And in Vibhuti Pad, the chapter on the yoga siddhis that Patanjali has talked about, he says that these powers are natural to the soul. So when you practice yoga and when you get closer to your soul consciousness, you naturally develop these abilities because they're natural to the soul. Because the physical body and the physical realm is actually a realm of limitation. Your mind is more expansive than your physical body, okay? Than the physical dimension is what I wanted to say. The mental dimension is far more vast, okay? The very fact that I'm doing these hand movements is because my mind is there. I have this thing called the mind. Without the mind, this wouldn't move. This could be functional, the nerves could be there, but something is acting as a bridge between the soul and this body. And that's the mind and intelligence, okay? They say that when your consciousness goes closer and closer and comes to the soul, you start developing these remarkable abilities, but they must be shunned. You have to develop detachment. But why develop detachment? Because the ultimate aim of yoga is to bring you closer to the uncorrupted, to the pure and clean consciousness that is the soul, your true existence. It's very simple. Think about a very talented actor, okay? And he was born with this siddhi, or this psychic ability to act, or he was able to channel these acting abilities without any real practice, and he became egotistic and prideful about it, you know, almost arrogant, looking at others struggle. Yoga is a subject which wants you to put away the ego, okay? You know why the world is in such a messed up state? Is because there are many individuals with a gigantic egotistical consciousness, and you can't really blame them. It's because society has made people to function in this way, okay? Whether you want to manifest a dream billion-dollar bungalow, or a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, a superbike, a supermodel, that's up to you. But if you're doing these things, you're doing it from a very egotistical point of view, okay? If you go to the Himalayas, you find these yogis who are able to just fulfill your wishes with the click of a finger, right? It's said that Steve Jobs went to the Himalayas in search of Mahesh Yogi, and he found someone else, Neem Kairoli Baba, who blessed him, and voila, apple. Okay, that's the power of a detached yogi. It's not that Steve Jobs had the siddhis, but it was the yogi who had the siddhis. But look at the life of that yogi. Penniless. The reason why you won't possess these psychic abilities if you have this egotistical point, this egotistical sense of consciousness, is because within the realm of the ego, these siddhis don't function. Because the ego is too small a vessel to contain these vast universal powers of soul consciousness. So when you read about people like Abraham Hicks or all of these other great people who have discovered these great laws of the universe, they also tell you in their own way to not give in to the ego, right? Some of them tell you, well, don't put the intention and let go of the results. And others tell you, keep trying and keep wanting it. So what do you actually believe? And that's where you get trapped. Be very careful, because that's where you're going to keep chasing something that you feel is not really coming to you. And the real priorities in life, the real things that you need in life, those things you tend to ignore. It's a great trap, these siddhis. And a lot of time, these siddhis or these psychic abilities are operated by otherworldly beings. Now, I can't explain to you in this video what otherworldly beings means. Okay, it's just the way they put it. But there are some extra-dimensional energies. It's so complicated. Extra-dimensional energies, extra complication. There are certain energies that twist the mind, that brings in all kinds of false lights, okay? That tells you things like, you're going to win this amount of money tomorrow. And you go to the lottery and you try and you're not winning. Or this is your soulmate. Or this is the right direction to go in. And your inner voice becomes corrupted. Your own inner sense of direction is lost. So I started off this video about psychic abilities and do they exist or not. And I'm here talking to you guys about how to not possess them. But see, this is when you have to become responsible. The reason why secret societies were secret was because they could not give out these secrets to people whose intentions they found were not pure, okay? There are many people in the world who want to become rich for the wrong reasons. Now, why on earth would great yogis give these extraordinary powers to such individuals? Like, are you kidding me? The last person who had such extraordinary powers and who was said to practice certain rituals, black magic, it is said, was Hitler. You know, the whole anti-clockwise swastika, you know, yippee yappy yappy, Nazi, you know, killing of the Jews, imbalance, and these underground societies still exist. And this is why I and many others tend to shy away from things like law of manifestation or reading the future, although you can. Law of manifestation exists. Learn it from the right people. People can tell you about your future soulmates, but you have to go to the right people, and you can find out only through the results. You know, you have to go to many people, and that's when you would get to know. Very simply, do psychic abilities exist? Practice yoga, practice spirituality, practice some of the techniques and see which one works and see for yourself if they exist. Because to me, they do exist. But they need to be shunned. You need to develop detachment, okay? Let's say, for example, you suddenly understand on TV with respect to a certain political situation, you know the outcome of that situation. And you have so many of your friends and you want to impress them, right? And you know deep down inside that this is the answer. And you're like, it's him. It's him who's gonna, you know, be the next one. See? It's him. It's him. You know, those friends over there are, you could be right, but those friends are probably going to think things about you. Maybe you might not give a damn, but sometimes discretion is the better part of valor, you know? Sometimes you have to be very discreet about these things. Sometimes when you know something, it's better you keep it to yourself and just tell it to people who won't look down on you, okay? And these psychic abilities do exist. These psychic abilities exist because, as I mentioned before, they are finer expressions of the tremendous potential of human consciousness. Swami Vivekananda, a great saint, okay, he was of the opinion that man, or humans, okay, including a woman, is the center of the universe as it is. Every person, quite naturally, is attracting forces towards themselves. You're a natural magnet to circumstances, to people, to situations. It depends upon what you attract at the end of the day that matters. You can hyper-magnetize yourself, for example, by doing a certain kind of pranayam, okay? Or by practicing certain mudras and bandhas. And you can bring certain opportunities faster to yourself, or certain, you know, techniques of manifestation. They do work, you know? And you can bring these circumstances and opportunities quite easily. But are you able to deal with the consequences? Do you know if you're bringing in the right situation into your being? You know? And that's more important. Apart from the fact that psychic abilities do exist, you also need to understand whether you want to possess them just in order to show off, or whether you want to study it and keep it under your control or let it control you. Now, Swami Vivekananda has said that, you know, the powers of the mind are tremendous, okay? I'm telling you that the powers of the mind are tremendous and psychic abilities do exist. But Patanjali has said you need to develop a certain sense of detachment, okay? Siddhis are developed through certain practices like incantation, magical incantations, okay? typically through penances, austerities, okay? Through medicinal herbs, believe it or not, through certain medicinal preparations, through practices that came from your previous birth, psychic practices that you might have been involved with in the previous birth, and you're born as a natural psychic. And so without any practice, you just have these abilities, okay? And lastly, and what's considered to be the highest way to develop psychic abilities is to develop the power of concentration, super concentration, okay? This is one sure shot method to develop your psychic abilities. Now again, let's be grounded. I'm not saying that psychic abilities like supremely exist. I'm also saying that give the benefit of the doubt and also kind of be like, I'm not certain, okay? Because sometimes I told you how you get trapped into these psychic abilities and how they start confounding you and playing games with your mind. Cruel games, truly cruel games, okay? Where you think that people are able to read your mind and you start going bonkers, okay? Just be grounded about these things. Now, psychic abilities do exist, okay? And be careful about them. Along your practice, be grounded about it, okay? And if you do want to show off, if you do want to be the next David Blaine, go ahead and do it. There is a science behind psychic abilities. I'm sure science will one day catch up. It hasn't yet. The ancient scriptures have documented the processes and techniques. You can look into that. And as far as me possessing psychic abilities, let's just leave that to that demonstration that I just gave to you guys. And that's it from me in this video, okay? There's nothing really more than this that I want to talk about with regards to psychic abilities, because it's such a closed topic, you know? It's something that's so taboo that it kind of makes me feel very cringy talking about it, because I don't want to give everything away. You know, there's a reason why secrets should be kept secrets. But just for the sake of information, this is a video on psychic abilities. In the next video, I'm going to talk to you guys about the types of psychic abilities and how you would recognize if you do possess these psychic abilities. And I would give certain examples from daily life, so stay in touch for that next video, okay? And that's it from me in this video. Subscribe to this channel, like this video if you like it, leave a comment down below, and I'll join you guys next time. Goodbye for now.